The sitting is resumed.
Mr. Speaker, recommittal of papers.
Honourable Member St. James Central.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I'm commanded to lay the Public Service General Order 2023, the Public Service Teachers Order 2023, Public Service Part-Time Order 2023, the Senate and House of Assembly Remuneration and Allowances of Members Order 2023, Ministers and Parliamentary Secretaries Remuneration and Allowances Order 2023, the Judges Remuneration and Pensions Salaries Order of 2023, I'm also commanded to lay a resolution to approve the Public Service General Order 20. You tell me these three. Craving your indulgence, Mr. Speaker. You tell me these three. Mr. Speaker, sir, those are the sum total of the orders that I am commanded to lay.
Recommittal of government notices.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I beg to give notice of the following resolutions. A resolution to approve the Public Service General Order of 2023. A resolution to approve the Public Service Teachers Order of 2023. A resolution to approve the Public Service Part-Time Officers Order 2023. A resolution to approve the Senate and House of Assembly Remuneration and Allowances of Members Order 2023. The resolution to approve the Ministers and Parliamentary Secretaries Remuneration and Allowances Order of 2023. A resolution to approve, in accordance with Section 3.2 of the President Conditions of Service Act, Chapter 6 of the Laws of Barbados, the amendment of the schedule to that act by deleting paragraph 1 thereof and substituting paragraph 1 as contained in the schedule to this resolution.
Turn the pages on.
Mr. Speaker, I beg to give notice of the following additional resolutions. The resolution to approve the rates of the salaries and allowances applicable to the post of personal assistants to ministers is set out in the schedule, and the resolution to approve the rates of salaries and allowances applicable to the post of personal assistant, executive assistant, press secretary, executive personal secretary, and clerical officer to the Prime Minister as set out in the schedule.
Revert to government business, sir. Order number 14, in the name of the Honourable Minister in the Ministry of Finance and Economic Affairs, to move the passing of a resolution to approve the Public Service General Order 2023.
Honourable for Christchurch East Central.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. With your permission, sir, I beg that orders number 15 through 22 be read together with order 14, and to do this as a cognitive debate, given all the resolutions are inextricably linked.
The question is that orders number 14 through 22 be debated as a cognitive debate, given the fact that they're inextricably linked. All those honourable members in favor, please say aye. Those against, please say no. Me think the ayes have it.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. And I'm conscious in my own mind, sir, that the importance of this matter, as I indicated earlier, sir, to give some measure of regularity, is important to be noted by this chamber. And these resolutions here, sir, give effect to what has been a process that I must tell you was very different from what I experienced 5 years ago when we came to office, because at that time, sir, as you know, there was almost a 10-year period where there was no salary increase, and we were pushing to get these matters concluded very quickly, sir, to be able to do the budget of June 11th, 2018. And I can tell you that whilst there was much expectations then, sir, that certainly in the post-COVID environment, what we were up against was a completely different set of circumstances. But the process, nevertheless, sir, was one that I believe we were able to find the right spot in relation to how we can treat to not just the fact that workers in this country would get an increase as they are with respect to their salaries, specifically here, sir, but that we were able to engage in a process that was not fully capable of meeting the expectations or the requests that were asked, that I believe, sir, that we were still able to find the right spot and to be able to respond under tremendous circumstances. The work of the public service, sir, continues to support the growth agenda, sir, and we have been very clear, sir, and I know that for many in the public space, we're seemingly disappointed, sir, that somehow the government did not introduce any new taxes in the last budget, but we were always conscious in our own mind, sir, that our focus is on growth. And we are making strategic investments in the public sector, sir, as we go along, but particularly in this post-COVID environment, sir, trying to accelerate some of the reforms that we have started in order to make sure that the public sector, sir, is re-engineered, if you like, sir, to be able to help drive and propel growth in the economy. And therefore, I say to the public servants, sir, that whilst some of the people out in the public might try to diminish the fact that every public servant will get $1,500 in this financial year, and diminish, sir, the fact that we have settled with 3% for the next financial year and the following financial year, 2023, 24, and 24, 25, that we've done so, sir, bearing in mind that we are repositioning this economy, sir, and this country to be able to propel growth. And the balance, sir, between the level of taxation and what the economy can bear always is at the center of our analysis, sir, with respect to what is affordable, number one. And whilst we know that in the last year or so, there has been significant increases in the cost of living, driven, sir, entirely by events outside of this country and outside of the control of the government, we feel that notwithstanding the relief measures that we have been able to put in place, that we can still afford, sir, to be able to come to this resolution where all public servants will see their salaries increase by 3% come April 1st, and these orders will give legal effect, sir, with respect to those negotiations. And to the extent that our future, sir, our future lies not just in whether this type of compensation is to continue as per normal, but we want to be able to see coming into this new Barbados in where that we look at how we encourage public servants to be able to be a little more innovative, sir, and to, in effect, sir, be able to build a capacity across the public service to be able to supply services across the region, Commonwealth, wherever, sir, that we see public service and public servants as an opportunity, sir, to be able to do more, to earn more, sir, not just for the country, but to fulfill, sir, I think the aspiration goals that public servants have with respect to being able to build on their experience. And that is the kind of public service, sir, that we want to invest in, and we are continuing to invest in. And therefore, these salary negotiations haven't been concluded, is really just a small part, sir, of our vision with respect to how we see public sector reform unfolding, because it is not sufficient, sir, in 2023 to be operating as if, sir, it was 2000 or even if it was 1994, sir. And the reality is that we have to think of new models with respect to how remuneration is done, certainly across the public service. And I hope that we will find favor with respect to new structures and new mechanisms with respect to being able to push the envelope a little further, sir, such that the idea of being able to build, and I use the term entrepreneurship within the context of the public service, where we can deliver, sir, very strategic services right across the board, not just for the public of Barbados, but being able to build capacity internationally, sir. And I think that's something that I know that the Honourable Member for St. James South is quite passionate about, because we do have quite a bit of capacity within the government, but it is not necessarily being leveraged, sir, in the way that it could be, in order, sir, to be able to allow officers to even earn a little more with respect to the remuneration. But it does require us, sir, to release our minds, sir, of the fact that we are just coming in and working for a department. And therefore, those types of options we will want going forward to be able to look at a range of things which would allow persons to see different elements with respect to being able to earn. Now, the reality is, sir, that whilst we are transforming, and I know that there's still a number of outstanding issues that, and I know I'm looking at my long friend from St. George North, who has been quite consistent with respect to resolving a lot of matters, sir, that have right across government, and certainly members of the NUPW and others, in terms of resolving problems that have been long-standing. And department by department, sir, we're just systematically trying to ensure that those things that have been humbugging people for a long time will be a thing of the past, such that we can give public servants certainly an environment where they can feel comfortable with respect to giving their service. But as I said, sir, to ensure then that persons aren't necessarily taken advantage of in any specific way. Now, I can say to this Honourable Chairman, and I'm happy to say through you, sir, to the Honourable Member for St. George North, that last week's Cabinet approved for the introduction of that overtime system that we've been talking about for some time at the Customs Department, and it's something that we are going to be rolling out clearly as we committed, and funds are available and we've already voted for next financial year, and therefore that will be just one of the elements that have been long-standing for too long, and therefore whilst we have been focusing on how we deal with the salary components, the reality is that there are non-salary issues which we continue to focus on, because it's important that we put the context of public service in terms of what government is making available. And certainly I know the Minister for Housing, as with the implementation of the HOPE program, again, there are lots of public servants who are seeking housing, and government's program with respect to being able to constrain the cost of the development costs, sir, really will be of great benefit to public servants. And therefore, as public servants apply for these specific sites that HOPE will make available, that will be, I think, of tremendous value to public servants, such that they don't have to necessarily go into the open market to be paying $25 a square foot, $30 a square foot. I mean, you can do that if you want, but the reality is, sir, that for a range of public servants, these are the types of things that through policy that we know that will be available to them, such that the salary increases that will come here, that their money, sir, will go just a little further with respect to being able to secure housing. And this is just one example, sir, of some of those non-salary interventions, if you like, sir, that this government is committed to doing in order to ensure that public servants in this country, sir, can, like any person in the private sector, that they too, sir, can have access at varying levels, that they can have access to decent and quality, very high quality housing, sir, in this country. And therefore, these are things that we will continue to work on, sir, consistently. And the Honourable Member for St. George North, I know, will continue to keep us our feet to the fire, as they say. But the government has been committed, sir, with respect to resolving matters. And I would love to be able to do everything all at one time, sir, but we can't. But we are systematically, sir, just working through those things that have been humbugging public servants. And I hope that we can accelerate and do that with haste, such that a lot of those long-standing issues, sir, will continue, will not be no longer. But it also relies on our management within the public service to also, sir, make sure that whilst we as the policymakers have the intent to solve these problems, that on a day-to-day basis, sir, that the management within the departments, that they too are sufficiently engaged to ensure that issues that can be solved, sir, down the line, so to speak, that we want to make sure that those issues can be resolved down the line rather than being ignored and escalated to where some things may fester and then create, sir, low morale within the workspace. And therefore, those are some of the things that within the context of the management training that is envisaged with respect to government, that the focus on supervisory management and those issues, not just in relation to getting things done, but in relation to how we manage, sir, the human resource component across government. And that is what we are also trying to focus on, because in as much as I know that people will be happy to see the money go up, the reality is that some of us still have to go to work every day and deal with situations that are less than ideal, and therefore the government is committed also to working through some of those challenges and to ensure that people are heard, they're responded to, and that the persons who are responsible, sir, for making that work environment that much more hospitable, that they can do that in a way that will motivate people, sir, to go beyond the call of duty. Now, let me say, sir, that I can say without any shadow of a doubt, sir, that the officers that I have worked with right across government, but the officers I have worked with directly, certainly in the Ministry of Finance, have been, certainly, sir, as my grandmother would say, sir, we have been flat out, almost working at bulk speed, as she would say, sir, trying to make sure that things are done. And there is often a perception that public servants, sir, don't work. And I don't know that to be true, because the officers that continue to ensure that not just stuff gets to Parliament, but all the work that is needed to be done, sir, to make sure that we can keep things on track. I can say to this country that public servants put in their more than their fair share, sir, of what may be regarded as a day's work. And it is often unseen because members of the public sometimes give the public servants a bad rap. Sometimes, there may be instances where things may be merited, but the reality is that in the main, I know that public servants put in the work, sir, very often to ensure that we can get there. And therefore, these salary increases, I think, whilst not able to cover the full gamut with respect to the circumstances that the cost of living and all the challenges that arise, that they can resolve fully, but this 3% that will come from April 1st, I think, sir, will go a long way with respect to resolving those matters. Equally, sir, the increases in allowances, 10% increase in allowances, sir, and as well as the 3% increase in allowance for those who get those allowances equally, sir, will benefit significantly from that, given that those allowances are intended to be able to cover any supposed operational requirements that public service will have to expend in the execution of their duties. And therefore, these resolutions, sir, before the chamber, I know will be of benefit to Barbados. Let me hasten to add, sir, that in and amongst the work that we are doing with respect to digitization, I know that there has been a lot of some anxiety, I don't say a lot of, some anxiety among some sections of the public service in relation to the modernization. And I will take this opportunity, sir, to say to public servants that the process through which we are going through to digitize and upgrade all of our systems, sir, these are the very processes that would allow us to be able to unlock growth in the economy, sir. And unlocking growth in the economy, people may hear us talk about digitization, and it may not immediately appear to obviously to some what that would mean, and there's some meaning in the public service or even in the private sector, what it would potentially mean. But there are some fears amongst persons that somehow if you digitize, that your jobs may come under threat. And yes, there are some jobs that will have to change. But the reality is that the digitization effort, sir, allows us to be able to do things faster, to unlock opportunities, and therefore I say to public servants, when we come to work every day, we must ask ourselves a very simple question: what have I done today to allow some person within the private space, sir, to go and do their business faster, such that the revenue or the activity, that they're undertaking with respect to their business is capable then of delivering tax revenues back to the government faster in order to allow us then to see the growth. And the truth is, sir, is that if we are trying to hold on to systems in 2023 that were designed for the 20th century, then there's a cost mismatch, and the cost to maintain those legacy systems, sir, is what would put at risk, potentially, sir, any jobs, because if the rest of the world is moving, sir, ahead of us, and we simply cannot deliver the things in the time that people expect, then people will go elsewhere. Business will go elsewhere. And therefore, we really cannot fear the digitization. We must get on board with the training, sir, upskill, as we would say, and be able then to spend more of your time, rather than spending time collecting data and circulating paper around the office and those types of things, sir, that we're able in a position to make sure that we can modernize and to be able to unlock growth, sir, moving forward. And therefore, as part of this process, not just with respect to the salary negotiation, sir, but we must be committed, sir, to ensure that we can implement those things that will make sense to be able to unlock growth, sir, such that these conversations that we're having with their representatives, that when the representatives can come and ask specifically for a specific set of proposals, that the government will be in a position to satisfy that, because we've been able to do all that we could do, sir, to be able to drive and unlock growth such that we can keep things moving along in a way that is comfortable for all. And so, sir, that is the essence of my contribution for this specific debate. But I really want to thank the public servants for the work that they have done. Thank their representatives all for very robust exchanges during this process, because that is the only way, sir, that we know how to get things done, is to sit around the table, thrash out the issues, resolve what we can resolve, and then look to make sure then that we can just tick off, sir, over time, the things that were not resolved completely at the time of sitting. And so, sir, with those very few words, I beg to move that this resolution be no pass.
Honourable Member for St. James Central.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. Mr. Speaker, sir, I just want to offer a very brief perspective on this very important debate which is attracting the attention of this House tonight. You have heard during her budget presentation, the Prime Minister make the exceptionally important observation that this is the second wage increase which this government is offering the people of Barbados in 5 years, as opposed to what was inflicted on us before under the last administration, when there was but one increase over a period of 10 years. The takeaway from that, Mr. Speaker, if we can come quickly to the crux of the issue, is that for the Barbados Labour Party and for this government, sir, people matter. The inescapable takeaway, sir, is that the quality of life of the people that we represent matters. And Mr. Speaker, sir, this government, I submit respectfully to you, sir, must stand as characterized by a determination to serve the people of Barbados and to do its duty by the people of this country. Sir, there is no doubt in my mind that this is but one example of the fact that throughout the last 4 or 5 years of this administration, every step that we have taken is part of a common thread which suggests that people matter to this administration. We are in a time, sir, when cost of living issues continue to be the bane of the existence of the world, the developed world and the developing world, sir. And I feel that it is also my duty to associate at the outset with the observations made by the honourable member who piloted this resolution, sir, to salute the labour movement in Barbados for their very clear demonstration of maturity and responsibility, to salute them as well, sir, for their desire to build closer and deeper cooperation in general with respect to the governance process, but even more importantly, sir, to ensure and enhance harmonious industrial relations climate in Barbados. And I want to, from this place, sir, salute the entire leadership of the trade union movement in Barbados. Well, Mr. Speaker, so I go back to the crux of the matter. There has to be an awareness of the context within which these negotiations took place. Barbados is not different from the rest of the world. We too faced a very serious energy crisis. We, sir, and I must remind the House that on average in any given year, the energy import bill for this country in terms of the fossil fuels that we import to run the motor cars on the road, to keep these lights in the Parliament of Barbados on, sir, to keep lights on in the offices around the country and the air conditioning burning, etc., etc. It averages out around $300 million a year. And if there's a little noise in the Persian Gulf, it tends to go higher, 450, 500 million, sir. Prior to this energy crisis, the highest we ever saw was just about $700 million in importing fossil fuels into Barbados. That was in 2012. Mr. Speaker, sir, in this past year, the energy bill for this country would have reached $1 billion. Unprecedented. Another unprecedented difficulty that we have to confront, sir. And above and beyond that, we have to understand the wider context also included a very serious post-COVID logistical supply chain, commodities, supply chain disruption. Let us not forget how hard it was to get things into this country. But what is the common theme that this government was able to demonstrate? Because while we come here to speak about a salary increase, that is but one measure reflecting government's commitment, sir, to the people that we represent, to enable them to better grapple with the realities of the cost of living, better grapple with the cost, sir, as we heard the honourable member for St. George South early, St. George North speak today, sir, to buy a little child a computer, to make to buy a little child a computer, to make sure that you can make ends meet in the household, to enable to provide a little bit of recreation for the family, the quality of life things, sir, without which, what do the people do? Now, Mr. Speaker, part of what has to happen in Barbados is that there's got to be serious conversation among serious people, not just opposing for the sake of opposing. And part of our difficulty, sir, is that we have too weak an opposition, too ill-prepared and too unthinking an opposition, and the country deserves better. If, sir, I was to tell you, as is in fact the case, that Kenya's newspaper today, Kenya's leading newspaper, reports, sir, a headline that says, "Eat chicken feet. Cost of living too high in Kenya." The word from the office of the president, the leadership of the country, eat chicken feet. But in Barbados, sir, when we are grappling with cost of living issues, sir, what did we do? We came here to cap freight costs, sir, to pre-COVID-19 levels, did we not? Mr. Speaker, sir, did we not? And sir, that took us back to a point where 20-foot containers that were being brought from over in Asia at a cost of somewhere in the vicinity of $15,000 to $20,000 US were taken back to 7,000 United States dollars, sir. And 40-foot containers that were costing the suppliers, the importers into Barbados, costing them $35 for an empty container. Before you put anything in the container at all, $30,000 got to be put down. We capped that cost, sir, freight cost at $8,000 for a 40-foot container because, sir, the consumers of this country matter and the quality of life of our people matter. Our message was not eat chicken feet, but that's been a message elsewhere. And Mr. Speaker, sir, that's how we tackle the rising cost of living and the consequential impact on the quality of living. But we didn't end there. I had the pleasure, sir, of early in this year presiding over the signing of a second compact, Mr. Speaker, sir, aimed at restraining markups on the markups used by supermarkets and wholesale and retail distributors in sector in this country. We ain't tell people eat chicken feet. We brought the entire private sector to the table in the best principles of a tripartite relationship, not only this January, but we did it last August for a 6-month period, Mr. Speaker, sir. Brought everybody, labor movement, representing as they do the broad mass of workers in Barbados. We obviously, sir, represent the government, and we brought, sir, the private sector, the relevant part of the private sector, in order to work out what is feasible, what can we do to assist the pain, taking the pain off the backs of the people in the households that we represent, sir. We ain't tell them eat chicken feet, but we put a compact in place that reduced the markup. There are members in this house, sir, sitting across from me, representing, as they do, both interests in the private sector, retail distributive part of the sector, and labor, sir. They can bear witness to this fact. And it was not an easy negotiation because the private sector, sir, is not in business to reduce its markups. The private sector is in business to make profit. And if you have shareholders, they want to see a substantial profit. But we got people to understand that it does not profit a man that he gained the whole world, and in the process he lose his soul. That you got a massive profit for 3 months, and then afterwards your supermarket empty because the people can't go in there, or worse yet, as is happening in other parts of the world, as we saw in Pakistan, as we saw in Sri Lanka, as we saw in other parts of the world, sir, that you have rioting in the streets and protests, sir. That's how we treat to the people. As I say, what is missing in all of this, sir, is an opposition that can contribute sensibly to what we are doing, because we are living in a country where there is not only a dearth of opposition, but a lamentable state of intellectual bankruptcy on the part of those people out there. Mr. Speaker, sir, the other thing that we did, because this is all part of a continuum, relief for householders' electricity bills, reducing the VAT from 17.5% to 7.5% on the first 250 kilowatts, causing savings, sir, estimated not by me, but by the Barbados Light and Power to 63% of the households across this country. Mr. Speaker, we didn't tell the people eat chicken feet. We told the people we are going to intervene at the level where you feel the pain. The cost of energy around the world is sky high. In Great Britain, sir, people change a prime minister 3 times in the space of 6 months because of the same issue of cost of living. Where were we? We were on the side of the people, sir, saying that we can intervene to make sure that in your house, and in the house of the people you represent, and in the houses of the people that I represent, Mr. Speaker, sir, that if you're burning 250 kilowatts or under, then, sir, you are shielded. You are shielded from the full brunt of the surging cost of electricity. Not satisfied, last summer, Mr. Speaker, sir, the Ministry of Education, recognizing the importance of the school meal service to the very survival of poor working class, black-skinned families around Barbados, made sure, sir, that our children were fed throughout the summer holidays. Do you know of anywhere else in the world? Do you know where anywhere else, Mr. Speaker, sir, in the Christian world where that type of intervention was made? Again, sir, part of a continuum, which is a common thread running throughout this government like a golden principle that we will intervene wheresoever possible in order to shield in any way possible and practical the people of this country from the surging prices and cost of living. We are net importers. Much of what this country consumes, sir, is imported. The task that we have is to broaden the base of our exports, but that can't be done in one fell swoop. We have only been in government, sir, for 4.25 years. What we have to do, however, is to make sure that until we can succeed where all the others before us failed, in terms of making sure that there is a broad manufacturing base in this country, that we can, in fact, do something by way of intervention to shield and to ensure the economic safety, the financial safety, and the well-being in terms of the quality of life of our people. And that is why the intervention for our children through summer holidays, lunches, was important. Well, Mr. Speaker, we were not satisfied. We didn't end there. The Customs and Excise Departments issued a list of goods on which no value-added tax was charged. The honourable member who just took his seat in his capacity of minister in the Ministry of Finance presided over that process. So again, as to be able to ensure that the people we represent who have to have access to a basket of goods, which are essentials, would be in a position, sir, to be able to pay a little bit less because government intervenes, uses its wide girth to shield the citizen who needs to be able to access nutritious food but at reasonable and affordable prices. Is that not, sir, a government that is standing in the interest of the people? While others, if you pick up the paper and research it, are telling them, eat chicken feet. And Mr. Speaker, sir, we didn't end there. The continuum is a golden thread throughout the life of this administration. And yes, we have intervened now with regard to making sure that people are better able to enjoy a higher quality of life with better salaries. But equally, Mr. Speaker, sir, we didn't start talking salaries today. This government, sir, is the government that intervened to ensure that the minimum wage in Barbados last April 1st was increased to $8.50 in furtherance of a manifesto promise, but in enhancing the manifesto promise, Mr. Speaker, sir, because we were elected on a campaign that we can carry it to $8. But we went to $8.50. And yes, we had negotiations, but let us not ever forget that there were those who wanted to negotiate back and said that $8.50 was too much, $8 was too much, $7 was too much, and that it could not be afforded. Let us not forget that there is that school of thought, that right-wing, petty bourgeois philosophy in Barbados, which would ride roughshod on the backs of the people of this country, sir. And let us not either forget that it was because of that intervention on the 1st of April last year, piloted so ably by the Honourable Member for St. Peter, that Chapter 344 of the Laws of Barbados, which deals with the salaries at which you compare domestic workers. Don't mean no use fancy language, You know, sir, as an attorney, that the law of Barbados up until April 1st, before this government, sir, this much maligned government by an unthinking opposition, this government intervened to make sure the law was changed, because legally you could get away in Barbados with paying maids at $2.50 an hour up until April 1st last year. You look stupefied and shocked, sir. I have no way of knowing how many indifferent and worthless people tried to do that. But the fact of the matter is that this parliament of which we are a part would have been sullied, would have been disgraced if we had squandered yet another opportunity, having been elected by yet another overwhelming mandate, not to fix that situation and put it behind us once and for all, so as to stand in the breach, again ensuring the quality of life, again ensuring the protection of the vulnerable, again being there for labor and making sure that the people of this country were put first, sir. And we are not satisfied with that, because, Mr. Speaker, sir, it is also this government that early in the day made sure that 3,000 public servants were appointed. I think that took place in 2020, sir. 3,000 public servants deep in the bowels of an IMF program. When other parts of the world where there's an IMF program, the first people you put on the front line, has been labor. That is what happened in Jamaica, sir. That is what happened in Trinidad. That is what happened in Guyana in their IMF program. Mr. Speaker, sir, you could run through all the annals of history. It was even threatened in this parliament when the last administration was governing this country. I well recall leading spokespersons standing up, one of whom stood up pretty much where I am, and asking the question of us in opposition, who do we send home first? You say that we should go in the IMF program, but tell me who to send home. You want us to send home the people at the Queen Elizabeth Hospital? You want us to send home the people at CBC? That was the language, sir. We went the opposite way. We found a way to make sure that 3,000 public servants were appointed. Again, sir, consistent with what we're here doing today, making sure that in the most difficult of times, the people of Barbados are put up front and protected as opposed to being dispensed with. And Mr. Speaker, that is the difference. I hear talk, and I read, by way of confirmation, that there is a hopelessly lost individual out there trying to draw a distinction between the Barbados Labour Party and Democratic Labour Party. Well, that distinction is not hard to draw. All he has to do is understand that which he rushed to embrace, and equally understand that which he left. Understanding, sir, makes the world of difference. And in this particular mission, sir, it is abundantly clear where the Barbados Labour Party's government has stood. Equally clear, Mr. Speaker, if we want to talk about how we have come to the rescue of people, let us not lose sight of those persons. I have one in my constituency in Hoyts, New Development. One such case where a mother stood on a patio next to her daughter, telling me it was her life's dream to be able to go to university. Not that she wants to start a career, but that she had ambition, sir, and wanted to go peacefully into the great beyond, knowing she had gone to university and come up with the certification. But through the worthlessness of the last administration, what was the reality? That her daughter also wants to be at university, and she has to make a choice. A moral dilemma between mother and child. Who will go forward? Both standing before a representative with tears in their eye, when none in here on the government side cared. And then they talk about Arabara. The same Arabara who created that arrangement, that architecture, that they so shamelessly and willfully and capriciously let down and dismantled, sir. What we had done in the first couple of weeks of government was to re-establish the framework to make sure that the young people of Barbados from then until now continue an unbroken pattern of being able to be supported through their educational development channel. because people matter and quality of life of our people matter, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, one can go on and on. I remember well as this country's Minister of Business, when the place had to be shut down because of the pandemic, when micro business people who operate on razor-thin profit margins, no big law savings, no big law profit, you're getting through month by month, sometimes week by week, trying to build out your little business to get it to a small business platform. And if you can get the small business platform, see if you can get it to be a medium-sized business, Mr. Speaker. And then along come COVID and cat spraddle everybody. And of whom do we speak? We speak, Mr. Speaker, sir, of the ladies who doing the manicure and pedicure. We're speaking, and Mr. Speaker, we're speaking about the barbers and the hairdressers. We're speaking about the taxi people, Mr. Speaker. The same fisher folk that I spoke about in this house earlier. We're speaking about those ordinary people in our communities who have chosen to pull themselves up by their bootstrap. This government was there for them. In Trinidad, there was no relief in the quantum and in the way in which we did it. Over in St. Lucia, there wasn't the relief in the manner that we did it, Mr. Speaker. So when we came with pandemic interruption assistance, making sure that the Ministry of Commerce, which I had the privilege of leading at the time, was able to intervene to provide financial assistance on a week-by-week basis for the shopkeeper and the taxi driver and the hairdresser, the cosmetologist, the barber, Mr. Speaker, on and on and on. The fisher folk, again, putting people in a position where they were protected and looked after because labor matters and the quality of life for our people in this country, sir, matter. And what we are dealing with this evening is yet another installment of that. Earlier on, sir, you presided, the member for St. Lucie presided over an engagement in which we looked at Head 92. And the issue under Head 92, sir, was the creation of a junior stock exchange. And why? Why? Because we know that small business people in Barbados are exceptionally important. We know that they're critical, in fact, indispensable to growth. We know, Mr. Speaker, that there are those out there who allege falsely that they don't understand the growth trajectory and they don't understand the growth plan. But, Mr. Speaker, sir, if you are going to come now and put money behind the concept of a junior stock exchange, and what are we talking about? We are talking about, Mr. Speaker, sir, having a stock exchange. The same way you can sit down in Barbados, and I feel shame to tell you this, that you look and you see the regional stock exchange and how it performs. You see Jamaica, there were X amount volume traded today. You look at Trinidad, X amount volume traded. You look at Barbados, little or nothing. But now, those big boys who are on the National Stock Exchange, I can't do much about them. But I know where passion lies. I know, Mr. Speaker, sir, where hunger exists. I know, sir, where there are young people knocking on a door, wanting an opportunity to break through and get a chance. And I equally know the history of this country has been one where in the banking sector and virtually every other sector, sir, that has to play a facilitative and supporting role has historically turned a blind eye and a deaf ear to those people trying to get through. So where do we stand, sir? We put money behind a junior stock exchange. And the work that must be now done, that is going to now do, is to help train some of our business people to understand, sir, the advantages of getting into equity financing as opposed to taking on board debt. You now start out in a business. The hardest thing is to harness capital. The hardest thing, sir, is to avoid being burdened by the debt. We all know that small businesses, startup businesses, very often take a long time before they start to see profit. You got to grow into stride. You got to creep before you walk. So therefore, Mr. Speaker, sir, we have discussions with these people and start to train, ensuring that they understand the advantages of equity financing. Things, Mr. Speaker, sir, like the fact that you wouldn't have any burden with regard to interest rates and no burden with regard to debt financing on a monthly basis accessing, sir, significant sums of capital in exchange for what? In exchange, sir, for sharing a percentage of the business interest, because you have the idea, you got the passion. What you lack is the capital, but somebody provides you with the money, sir, and they're taking a small interest in the business. Very often, also helping to guide you and give you support because you're in deep water and need support. When I was a young lawyer, sir, there were seniors who gave me support. When you were a young lawyer, sir, there were seniors who gave you support. The same thing is true of the young engineer sitting to my right when he was a young engineer. Seniors gave him support and guidance, sir, and it goes on and on and on that way. And this government is applying basic principles in order to try to carry people and chart a new course, because we know that startups, sir, as I say, often take time to generate profit, and equity financing gives you freedom to channel more money into your business. Why, sir? Because we have a philosophy. People matter. Quality of life matters. We have to keep putting people first. And this exercise tonight, sir, simply put, is another installment in that very clear line that I've demonstrated. I could talk exhaustively for maybe an hour if the time allowed me to, and I know it won't. But I don't want to do that at this hour, sir. I want for the record of this House to be able to establish that this government, sir, comes to the point of these salary increases, understanding the very difficult context within which our people live, understanding the very difficult time, understanding the pain that this country has gone through. COVID, energy crisis, logistical supply disruption, sir. We all have heard about the hurricane. We all have heard about the ashfall. You can go on and on. But Mr. Speaker, sir, through it all, like an angel keeping watch through the night, ensuring that right is right, ensuring, sir, that someone protects the public with all their might. There has been a Barbados Labour Party government, sir, at the core and at the center of this, piloting us forward. And, sir, it has been a pleasure to work with this administration in this manner which is philosophically consistent, in this manner, sir, which has been unswerving. And I want, sir, to support this resolution wholeheartedly. I am obliged to you.
Honourable Member for St. Peter.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Whenever I stand in this place, I stand very conscious that two of my predecessors as members of Parliament for the constituency of St. Peter have been outstanding in their fight, and out of that fight, their contribution to the upliftment of workers in this country. I speak, Mr. Speaker, of the now Right Excellent Sir Frank Leslie Walcott, and I speak to the first black man to sit where you sit, Sir Kenmore Nathaniel Ricestone Husbands, known as Doc. And I start that way because, Mr. Speaker, it is important for us to understand why we are here. It is important for me to understand why I am here. I stand on the shoulders of the two gentlemen who I spoke to, whose names I mentioned earlier, former persons of this place. And I also stand on the shoulders of one who came to this place with the expressed intention of stopping, in his words, stopping poor people from being poor. And so, Mr. Speaker, I cannot stand here, even at this late hour, and not connect firmly and directly with the conditions that have sent me to this place. I, like the Honourable Member for St. James Central, would want to put what we're speaking to, this resolution, that speaks to the increase in pay for public officers in context, and very briefly so. We, Mr. Speaker, came to government after a party in office made very conscious decisions to attack the ability of workers to survive in this country. I say it was a conscious decision to attack because the attack appears quite systematic. And that systematic nature of an attack does not suggest any level of ad hoc approach. That government reduced the reverse tax credit for workers at the lower end of the scale. Reduced, they cut it in half, actually, the reverse tax credit. And Barbadians ought not to forget that. That party in government also made a decision not to pay back public officers and Barbadian workers generally their tax refunds. Mr. Speaker, tax refunds were owing for many years. Those tax refunds that people look forward to be able to pay their land tax, to make an extra payment on some part of their debt. The last government, Democratic Labour Party government, made that decision that they would not refund those persons. The economists refer to it as part of a system of adversarial financing. Borrowing, but that's not really borrowing. Borrowing has a certain morality where two people sit down and work through an agreement, terms and conditions, and then sign paper. When you withhold what belongs to somebody else, it's probably more considered thieving. But it was an attack on workers in this country not to refund those tax returns, those tax refunds, not to pay those tax refunds. And then, Mr. Speaker, to offer one salary increase in 10 years said to the workers, the public officers of this country, that their work, their labor was not respected, was not valued. That is the context within which we came into office. And so, Mr. Speaker, when we stand here at this late hour, when most of us would want to be in bed resting with our spouses, saying our prayers, we think it necessary to indicate to Barbados that we are about the people's business. We've come to this place subsequent to a negotiation where the workers' representatives sat with the representatives of government, and over a period of time determined that given the entire circumstances, the workers deserved an increase, and the workers would get an increase. And so we come this evening to formally approve the 3% increase, which begins effectively on Saturday, on the 1st of April. 3% for the year 2023-2024, and a further 3% compounded 2024-2025 on salaries. And for the year 2022-2023, because we're essentially at the end of that year, we earlier this evening spoke to the $1,500, which is tax-free, to the people, the workers in the public sector of this country. Now, Mr. Speaker, when I contrast our approach to the approach of the previous government, I do so because this government, this Barbados Labour Party government, not only negotiated with the workers' representatives to give a 3% salary increase, well, $1,500 lump sum, 3% salary increase, and a compounded 3%, and then 10% allowances in the first year, 22-23, 3% 23-24, an additional 3% 24-25. Not only did we negotiate and agree that the labor of the public officers of this country was valued and is valued and continues to be appreciated by this government, but we also turned our attention to issues like master teachers. We turned our issues to senior nurses. This was all part of the negotiation. So public officers in Barbados need to go to the supermarket, need to pay courts, need to buy land, need to get houses. But there are other things that demonstrate the philosophy of this party in office, which says there are things beyond money that public officers need. Validation in terms of being able to earn additional money while doing what a teacher loves to do. Continue in the classroom teaching. For nurses, while nurses continue to do what they want to do, what they've been trained to do, rather than having to turn to administration to increase their remuneration, their pay, their salary, they can now become master teachers or senior nursing practitioners. This was also the government that increased the loan provision for postal workers. This is also the government that included nurses in the polter, allowing them to be able to access funds, loans, to purchase vehicles, interest-free. This is a government that has made a commitment to the training and development of public officers. This is a government that values workers. This is a worker-centered government. This is a government that has not lost sight of its moorings. The organized labor movement that survives in this country today was birthed by this party. This party remains faithful. This party remains consistent in its approach to workers in this country. We started fighting for the rights of workers in the 1930s. In 2023, we are still fighting for the rights of workers. We are granting increases even in difficult times. Even in difficult times. Mr. Speaker, we restored the reverse tax credit. We restored the reverse tax credit. Mr. Speaker, we introduced a compensatory income credit. Now, I want us to be very clear as I wrap up that there is a significant difference in approach of the two parties that have offered themselves to the people of this country. There is one approach that says when we are going through tough times, we stop giving workers increases. We reduce any benefits that they have. We tell them that they have to pull their pockets directly to pay for their children's education at our tertiary institutions. And we essentially say to them that we disregard them. They take the brunt of the attack whenever we are facing tough times. Mr. Speaker, this government has faced the toughest of times over the past 4.5 years. And during that time, almost 5 years, and during that time, facing tough, challenging times, we have determined that in spite of everything, we will remain faithful to our workers. Increases for public officers, a significantly increased minimum wage for all workers, but particularly for those in the private sector, that we would restore the reverse tax credit, put in place the compensatory income credit, and that we would also address what we call the non-cash issues. This, Mr. Speaker, is the hallmark of a worker-centered government. This is a government that believes in people. And so, Mr. Speaker, I have absolutely no hesitation in supporting the resolution before this honorable chamber, recognizing and understanding that this is a manifestation of a deep, abiding philosophy that runs through this party in government from the late 1930s until now. I am proud to be a member of this institution, a worker-centered institution, an institution that continues to stand up for the people of this country. I'm obliged to you.
Honourable Member for Christchurch, East Central.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Let me thank honourable members for their spirited contributions. The government remains committed, sir, to improving the lives of all Barbadians. And whilst these resolutions seek to restore some measure of regularity to the management of our public finances in this way, we are committed, sir, to ensuring that we can wrestle down the long-standing issues, sir, that have been plaguing too many of the workers within the public service in the way that the system has been managed to date. And I thank members for the observations, but I say to the country that the transformation that we seek now to execute will be done with the full cooperation of those within the departments of the public service, and the truth is, sir, will help to transform this country. So let me thank honourable members for that. And at this point, sir, I will beg to move that this honourable resolution do not pass.
The question is that this resolution do not pass. All those honourable members in favour, please say aye. Those against it, please say no. Methinks the ayes have it. This resolution stands passed.
Order number 15, sir. In the name of the Honourable Minister in the Ministry of Finance and Economic Affairs, to move the passing of a resolution to approve the Public Service Teachers Order 2023.
Honourable Member for Christchurch.
Mr. Speaker, I beg to move that this resolution do not pass.
May I second that, sir?
The question is that the resolution do not pass. All those honourable members in favour, please say aye. Those against, please say no. We think the ayes have it. This resolution stands passed.
Order number 16, sir. In the name of the Honourable Minister in the Ministry of Finance and Economic Affairs, to move the passing of a resolution to approve the Public Service Part-Time Officers Order 2023.
Mr. Speaker, I beg to move that this resolution do not pass.
Beg to second that, sir.
The question is that this resolution do not pass. All those honourable members in favor, please say aye. Those against, please say no. We think the ayes have it. This resolution stands passed.
Order number 17, in the name of the Honourable Minister in the Ministry of Finance and Economic Affairs, to move the passing of a resolution to approve the Senate and House of Assembly remuneration and allowances of members' order 2023.
Mr. Speaker, I beg to move that this resolution do not pass.
That, sir.
Question is that this resolution do not pass. All those honourable members in favor, please say aye. Those against, please say no. We think the ayes have it. This resolution stands passed.
Order number 18, sir. In the name of the Honourable Minister in the Ministry of Finance and Economic Affairs, to move the passing of a resolution to approve the Ministers on Parliamentary Secretaries Remuneration and Allowances Order 2023.
Mr. Speaker, I beg to move that this resolution do not pass.
Beg to second that, sir.
The question is that this resolution do not pass. All those honourable members in favor, please say aye. Those against, please say no. We think the ayes have it. This resolution stands passed.
Order number 19, sir. In the name of the Honourable Minister in the Ministry of Finance and Economic Affairs, to move the passing of a resolution to approve, in accordance with Section 3.2 of the President Conditional Service Act, Chapter 6, the amendment of the schedule to that act by deleting paragraph 1 thereof and substituting paragraph 1 as contained in the schedule to this resolution.
Mr. Speaker, I beg to move that this resolution do not pass.
The question is that this resolution do not pass. All those honourable members in favor, please say aye. Those against, please say no. We think the ayes have it. This resolution stands passed.
Order number 20, sir. In the name of the Honourable Minister in the Ministry of Finance and Economic Affairs, to move the passing of a resolution to approve the rates of salary and allowances applicable to the post of personal assistant to ministers as set out in the schedule.
Mr. Speaker, I beg to move that this resolution do not pass.
Beg to second that, sir.
The question is that this resolution do not pass. All those honourable members in favor, please say aye. Those against, please say no. We think the ayes have it. This resolution stands passed.
Order number 21. In the name of the Honourable Minister in the Ministry of Finance and Economic Affairs, to move the passing of a resolution to approve the rates of salaries and allowances applicable to the posts of personal assistant, executive assistant, press secretary, executive personal secretary, and clerical officer to the Prime Minister as set out in the schedule.
Mr. Speaker, I beg to move that the resolution do not pass.
Beg to second that, sir.
Question is that the resolution do not pass. All those honourable members in favor, please say aye. Those against, please say no. We think the ayes have it. This resolution stands passed.
Mr. Speaker, sir, that brings us to the end of government's business for the day. I beg to move, sir, that the House be adjourned until Friday the 31st of March at 10 a.m.
The question is that this honourable chamber be adjourned until Friday, the 31st day of March, 2023 at 10 a.m. in the forenoon. All those honourable members in favor, please say aye. Those against, please say no. We think the ayes have it. This honourable chamber stands adjourned until Friday, the 31st day of March, 2023 at 10 a.m. in the forenoon.